There is one decision, just one shift you can make today that will silently command respect, raise your value in every room, and flip how the world responds to you. Not with arrogance, not with loud demands, but with a quiet, unshakable inner standard that says, I know who I am. Most people walk through life begging for approval, negotiating their worth, bending to fit into spaces they've outgrown. But the moment you stop chasing validation and start honoring yourself, everything changes. If you do this one thing, even once, people will look at you differently. They'll feel it, because energy doesn't lie. You teach the world how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So let's break down what to do, how to do it, and what it unlocks. Number 1, withdraw undeserved excess. There comes a moment in your life where you must confront a hard truth. Your time, energy, and presence are sacred, and not everyone deserves access to them. The mistake many people make is believing that being endlessly available, always saying yes, or constantly accommodating others will win them respect, love, or recognition. But it doesn't. In fact, the opposite happens. The more freely you give your energy to people who haven't earned it, the more they begin to devalue you. It's not personal. It's human nature. What is given without cost is often taken without appreciation. Every time you overextend for someone who shows inconsistency, disregard, or entitlement, you silently teach them how to treat you. You signal that your boundaries are negotiable, that your worth can be discounted, and that your time is not precious. But the moment you decide to withdraw access, without bitterness, without drama, and without needing validation, you begin to reclaim your power. Suddenly, people notice the shift. They feel the absence of what they used to take for granted. The calls you always answered, you now ignore. The favors you always did, you now decline. The emotional labor you always carried, you now release. And here's what's remarkable. The moment you stop showing up for people who never showed up for you, you begin to attract people who respect your presence. Why? Because your silence and distance communicate more than your words ever could. You no longer beg to be understood. You no longer fight to prove your loyalty. You no longer invest in relationships that only drain you. You become unavailable to chaos, to manipulation, to half efforts, dressed as commitment. Instead, you choose peace. You choose stillness. You choose to give your best to those who see your value without being told. But this transformation isn't just external. It starts with you. You have to believe that you are enough, even when you're not overgiving. You have to believe that your presence holds weight, even when you're not constantly performing. It takes courage to step back, to say no more, and to stop making excuses for people who never make the effort to truly know you, respect you, or support you. And yes, when you withdraw your access, some people will react. They'll accuse you of changing. They'll say you've become distant or cold. Let them. Those who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always be uncomfortable when you grow. But don't let that discomfort stop your evolution. You're not responsible for managing other people's reactions to your self-respect. You're responsible for protecting your peace. If they cared about losing you, they would have acted like it before you walked away. So let them feel the silence. Let them sit in the space where your presence once was. You owe no explanations, no warnings, no grand speeches. Your energy speaks for you now. From this point forward, your availability is earned, not assumed. Your time is precious, not negotiable. Your heart is sacred, not a playground for indecisive people. Withdraw your access from people who only remember you when they need something, who drain you with their chaos but never pour into you with consistency, who clap when you're quiet but disappear when you speak your truth. Start showing up more for yourself. Pour into your own cup. Protect your schedule, your mental space, and your emotional energy like the priceless currency it is. You'll be amazed at how differently people begin to treat you. Not because you became someone new, but because you finally remembered who you've been all along. You stop shrinking, you stop apologizing, you stop begging to be chosen, and instead you chose yourself. That's the shift. That's the power. Withdraw excess and watch how quickly the energy around you rearranges itself. Because once you remove yourself from the tables where love is conditional, support is performative, and your value is only recognized when it's convenient, you'll find yourself seated at tables where your presence is not just welcomed, it's honored. And that shift doesn't just change how others treat you, it changes how you see yourself. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not distant, you're discerning, and you're not selfish. You're finally self-aware. This is how you teach the world how to treat you. Number 2, speak less, observe more. There is a certain quiet power that only the wise possess, the ability to speak less and observe more. In a world that rewards noise, where people are quick to prove, defend, explain, and interrupt just to be heard, the one who can hold silence becomes the most dangerous presence in the room. Not because they are aggressive, but because they are composed. Not because they are loud, but because they are deeply aware. You see, when you speak less, you stop reacting from emotion and start responding from wisdom. You begin to notice the tone behind words, the energy behind actions, the hidden intentions behind smiles. You start hearing what people aren't saying. Silence sharpens your perception like a blade. It allows you to study everything, the way someone flinches when they lie, the way they change the subject when truth gets too close, the way their consistency fades after they think they've won you. When you stop rushing to speak, you allow people to reveal themselves. And they always do. Because people may be able to control their words, but their energy always tells the truth. Most people miss the signs because they're too busy performing, too eager to prove they belong, to validate their worth, to force connections that don't fit. But when you step back, when you hold your tongue and simply watch, you realize how much noise you used to tolerate. You see how often people tell on themselves, how many contradictions they reveal when you give them enough time and space. And suddenly, you no longer feel the urge to chase anyone. You don't need to argue or explain your boundaries. You don't feel the pressure to defend your silence. You just observe and make quiet decisions. That's where your power lives. Because while others exhaust themselves trying to be liked, you're paying attention. While others speak to be seen, you're reading the room. And that subtle awareness becomes your advantage. The people who talk too much often reveal their fears. The people who over-explain often hide insecurities. The people who constantly need to be heard usually lack inner peace. But when you speak less, you conserve your energy. You listen with intention. You become strategic with your words. Every sentence becomes deliberate, not desperate. And people notice. They lean in. They respect your pauses. Because your silence forces them to reflect on their own noise. You become mysterious in a world that overshares. You become rare in a culture that screams for attention. And the truth is, mystery creates magnetism. When you speak less, you stop giving people access to your emotional pulse. You stop letting them predict how to control you. You become unpredictable, not chaotic, but unreadable in the best way. People can no longer manipulate you with guilt or pressure because you've mastered the art of watching without reacting. You give nothing away. You smile, you nod, but your mind is 3 steps ahead, catching every inconsistency, every subtle shift. And here's what's profound. The less you say, the more you hear. The more you hear, the more you learn. And the more you learn, the less likely you are to be deceived. Observation becomes your superpower. It helps you read motives, sense betrayal before it strikes, recognize fake support dressed as flattery. You see beyond appearances, and that kind of clarity protects you from unnecessary pain, wasted time, and misaligned relationships. But to live like this, you have to be rooted in self-trust. You have to be okay with not proving your point. You have to be okay with being misunderstood. You have to be okay with walking away without giving people the closure they never earned. Silence is not weakness, it's discipline. Observation is not passivity, it's intelligence. When you master the pause, you gain control over the pace of your life. When you watch long enough, you know exactly when to speak and when to walk away. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. It's about knowing that not every reaction deserves your energy. Not every insult needs a rebuttal. Not every opportunity is aligned with your purpose. The less you speak, the more selective you become. You start to realize the power of discretion, the strength in being unbothered, the grace in letting people reveal their true selves while you quietly protect your own. So from this moment on, slow down, say less, listen more. Let others exhaust themselves trying to impress while you sit back and read the truth beneath their words. Build your awareness like armor, sharpen your observation like a sword, and let your silence speak louder than any argument ever could. Because in the end, those who know the most never feel the need to prove it. And those who observe everything never have to raise their voice to be respected. Be still, be sharp, be the storm they never saw coming. Speak less, observe more, and watch how your world begins to shift in your favor. Number 3, respect yourself in private first. Before the world can respect you, before anyone can honor your presence or value your voice, you must respect yourself in the quiet places no one else can see. It starts not with the praise of others, but with the whispers you speak to yourself in the dark. When the applause is gone and the room is silent. The most powerful transformation you will ever undergo happens in private. When you look in the mirror and choose to believe you are worthy, even before the world affirms it. Because self-respect is not something you earn externally, it's something you cultivate internally. It's in the way you wake up and choose discipline over delay, purpose over distraction. It's in the way you talk to yourself after failure. Do you beat yourself down or do you build yourself back up? The world only reflects what you project. If you carry a quiet confidence, rooted not in ego but in self-awareness, people will sense it. But if you constantly doubt your value behind closed doors, that insecurity leaks into your energy and teaches others how to treat you. This is the truth few are willing to confront. You are always communicating your self-worth even when you say nothing. And that communication begins in the privacy of your own mind. Do you speak to yourself like someone you love, or do you let your inner critic tear you apart every time you fall short? Do you show up for yourself when no one's watching, or do you abandon yourself the moment things get uncomfortable? Respecting yourself in private means setting standards for your behavior, your thoughts, and your actions, even when no one else will ever know. It means choosing growth over comfort, discipline over excuses, healing over hiding. It's waking up early to pursue your dreams, not because anyone's watching, but because you are. It's walking away from people, places, and habits that dishonor your soul, not to make a statement, but to preserve your peace. It's speaking to yourself with kindness, forgiving yourself with grace, and pushing yourself with conviction, because you know that how you treat yourself sets the tone for how the world treats you. Too many people seek validation from the outside, hoping that if they're liked enough, followed enough, applauded enough, they'll finally feel worthy. But it never works, because no amount of external praise can fill the void created by internal neglect. You don't need more followers. You need more self-trust. You don't need more compliments. You need to believe in you. You need to believe in yourself, deeply and without condition. That kind of self-respect is magnetic. It commands rooms without saying a word. It sets boundaries without having to beg. It teaches others how to treat you by the way you already treat yourself. And it's not about arrogance. It's about alignment. It's about living in a way that reflects the truth of who you are, not the image you perform for the world. Because if you don't respect yourself in the dark, you'll always chase validation in the light. And that cycle will exhaust you. You keep bending, shrinking, overgiving, and overproving, hoping that someone finally tells you you're enough. But you've always been enough. The work is not becoming worthy. The work is remembering it. And once you do, once you truly begin to honor yourself behind the scenes, something shifts. Your boundaries get firmer. Your energy gets cleaner. Your standards get higher. And suddenly, people who once took advantage of you either rise to meet you or fade away. Both outcomes are gifts. Because the moment you start respecting yourself in private, your entire life reorganizes itself. You stop settling. You stop explaining. You stop tolerating what doesn't align, and you start building your peace, your power, your purpose. Every time you honor yourself in the quiet, you add to the foundation of your self-worth. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. So let the world misunderstand you. Let them question your silence, your standards, your solitude. You don't need to explain a thing. Just keep showing up for yourself. Keep making the hard choices when no one's clapping. Keep building the life you deserve in the unseen hours. Because the one who respects themselves in private eventually becomes the one the world cannot ignore. Your self-respect is the seed. Plant it deep, water it daily, and watch your entire life bloom in ways that don't require validation. You don't need to be seen to be valuable. You don't need to be heard to be powerful. You just need to be aligned. That's where your real worth lives. Not in what others think of you, but in what you believe about yourself when no one is looking. That is the foundation of true power. That is how everything changes. Number 4, set the standard and never lower it. There is a silent contract you sign with the world the moment you set your personal standard. And whether you realize it or not, every relationship, opportunity, and interaction you attract is filtered through that invisible standard you carry inside. You teach others how to treat you by what you tolerate, by what you entertain, and most importantly, by what you expect. And when your standard is low, your life will mirror it back to you with painful precision. But the moment you raise that bar and decide that you are no longer available for anything beneath your value, you begin to restructure your reality from the inside out. This is not about perfection. This is not about being better than anyone else. This is about alignment. It's about self-respect. It's about finally declaring to yourself and to the world, I will not shrink to be accepted. I will not bend to be chosen. I will not lower my standard to keep anyone comfortable. Because when you lower your standard to fit someone's comfort zone, you don't just dishonor yourself. You teach them that your worth is negotiable. And once they know that, they'll test it every single time. But when your standard is rooted in clarity, self-worth, and non-negotiable values, people either rise to meet you or they naturally fall away. And both outcomes are blessings, because your standard is not just about what you desire, it's about what you allow. It determines the quality of your relationships, the depth of your conversations, the level of peace in your mind, and the direction of your life. It's the difference between temporary attention and long-term respect, between toxic cycles and healthy foundations, between being used and being valued. And the thing about high standards is this: they make you rare, they make you misunderstood. People will tell you you're too much because they've never had to stretch that far. But that's not your problem. You weren't born to be convenient. You were born to be consistent with your calling. So stop apologizing for having expectations. Stop diluting your boundaries to keep the peace. Stop accepting crumbs when you deserve the table. If someone truly respects you, they will not be intimidated by your standard. They will be inspired by it. And if they're not, let them go. Because you will never have to beg the right people to meet you where you stand. But here's the key. Once you set the standard, you must protect it with everything you've got. Do not waver the moment loneliness knocks. Do not backtrack when pressure shows up. Do not justify mediocrity because you're afraid of being alone. Stand firm, stand tall, stand in the knowing that every time you uphold your standard, you're reinforcing your worth. And every time you compromise it, you erode the foundation of your confidence. Your standard is your compass. It keeps you aligned when the world tries to pull you off track. It helps you say no when the wrong thing looks temporarily right. It helps you walk away, not with bitterness, but with clarity and dignity. And setting the standard doesn't mean you have it all figured out. It simply means you've decided that you're done settling. You're done pretending that chaos is love. You're done allowing energy into your life that makes you feel small, unseen, or replaceable. You're done shrinking your voice to protect someone else's ego. You're done making excuses for disrespect, for dishonesty, for lack of effort. Because now you understand, your life rises or falls to the level of your standard. So set it high. Set it with intention. Set it with grace, with courage, and with unwavering commitment. And then guard it like your peace depends on it, because it does. You will be tested. You will be challenged. People will try to cross the line just to see if you'll flinch. Don't. Let your boundaries be built of stone, not sand. Let your values be unshakable, not seasonal. Let your actions reflect your standards so loudly that you never have to explain it, because the people meant for you will recognize it without being told. They will step up, not walk away. They will appreciate the elevation you demand because they're aiming higher too. And those who resist it, let them find comfort in the places you've outgrown. You are not here to beg for alignment. You're here to embody it. So set the standard, raise the bar, and never lower it. Even if it means walking alone for a season, because that lonely road leads to destinations compromise could never take you. Your peace lives at the level of your standard, and your power begins the moment you decide that you are no longer available for anything less than what truly honors your worth. Number 5, walk away without drama. There is a rare and sacred strength in walking away without drama. A quiet confidence that doesn't scream, doesn't explain, doesn't beg to be understood. It simply exits with grace, leaving behind the noise, the chaos, and the unspoken hope that someone might finally appreciate your worth. Most people stay far longer than they should, in friendships that drain them, in relationships that break them, in environments that dull their light, because they fear the silence that comes after goodbye. They fear what others will think, how they'll be judged, or whether they'll regret the decision later. But the truth is, the moment you find the courage to walk away, without making a scene, without announcing your pain or proving your point, is the moment you reclaim your power. Because real closure doesn't come from dramatic exits or final arguments. It comes from clarity. Clarity that says, I deserve better, and I no longer need to prove that to anyone. You don't need to burn bridges to move on. You don't need to post quotes online or craft indirect messages to hint at your healing. You simply need to make a decision and honor it in peace. Because peace is power. And the ones who can walk away silently are often the ones who were never truly seen while they stayed. You see, when you leave without drama, you show that your self-respect speaks louder than your need for validation. You show that your growth is not dependent on someone else's understanding. You show that you no longer need permission to protect your energy. There's a dignity in the quiet exit. A maturity in the calm goodbye. It means you've outgrown the games, the cycles, the emotional roller coasters, disguised as connection. It means you're no longer interested in teaching people how to love you while bleeding from their neglect. You're no longer willing to explain why your boundaries are valid, why your needs matter, or why your silence is sacred. You walk away, not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself enough to let go. Let go of the pretending. Let go of the potential. Let go of the false hope that one day they'll change. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but either way, you're no longer waiting around to find out. Walking away without drama isn't cold, it's clear. It's a quiet declaration that your soul is no longer available for chaos, that your heart is no longer open to inconsistency, that your mind is no longer trapped in explaining what should have been obvious. And what's powerful is this. When you walk away in silence, you give others the space to reflect. You remove the distractions, the arguments, the noise, and what remains is the echo of your absence. And often, that echo is louder than any words you could have spoken. People remember the energy that's no longer around. They remember the calm you brought, the patience they took for granted, the love they mishandled. But by then, you've already moved forward, not with resentment, but with resolution, not with bitterness, but with balance. Because you realize that you don't have to attend every battle you're invited to. Not every disrespect needs to be addressed. Not every departure requires a dramatic monologue. Sometimes, the greatest statement you can make is your silence. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge is your happiness after distance. And sometimes, the most sacred form of healing